Yorkshire has a long coastline stretching from the Tees to the Humber estuaries. It's divided between North and East Yorkshire by Flamborough Head. Right now we're travelling from the cliffs of the fishing village of Staithes in the north to the wide sands of Filey Bay. The largest town on the coast is Scarborough, dubbed Queen of the Yorkshire Coast. The tiny fishing port is protected by two headlands, Cow Bar and Penny Nab. The unusual red colour of the rock tells of the strong iron content. Underneath this there is a grey shale layer, potash alum, and it's this that is deep mined, largely under the sea. It's used in paper and pharmaceuticals. Many visitors come here on the trail of the great explorer Captain James Cook, born at Marton in 1728, 20 miles inland. You may be surprised to know he didn't come to Staithes to learn seamanship, but rather as an apprentice grocer at the age of 16. The shop stood here, where this cottage now stands. Higher up the village is the Cook Museum, located in an old Methodist chapel. The tiny, brightly painted cottages cling to the hillside and are connected by narrow paths like the 17-inch wide alley called Dog Loop. Staithes' location has always attracted holidaymakers, photographers and artists. At the turn of the 20th century, a number of artists came here to paint and they became known as the Staithes School. Their works are now highly collectible. Maybe it was the salt air and the comings and goings of the Staithes fisher folk that lured young James Cook to Whitby to learn his seacraft. His statue now stands on top of the West Cliff. It was here in Whitby in 644 AD that the date of Easter was set at a historical synod presided over by the abbey's great abbess, St. Hilda. Whitby was the inspiration for Bram Stoker's horror story Dracula. There are now 2 goth festivals held in the town in March and October every year. Although Whitby is always busy with visitors, it is still a thriving fishing port. The fishing boats come into the harbour on the River Esk and unload their catch on the quayside. The old town on the other side of the estuary is accessible over the swing bridge. It has narrow cobbled streets and the old town hall surrounded by the marketplace. The busy street where shops sell Whitby jet made from a black rock washed up on the seashore ends at the sea, by Fortunes where herring is left to cure in the smokehouse. Energetic visitors climb to the cliff top via the famous 199 steps which lead up to the church and the abbey. Down in the harbour, if you're here on the eve of Ascension Day, 39 days after Easter, you'll find these men hammering sticks into the silt. It's a tradition that dates back to 1159. It's a never-ending penance for the 3 noblemen who killed a religious hermit. A hedge, which was a hurdle woven from sticks costing a penny, has to be planted and has to withstand 3 tides. There are many things to do in Whitby. You could take a ride on a boat round the bay, or on Old Glory, a steam-driven bus that climbs up the Khyber Pass to the hotels on the West Cliff. There's also, of course, the annual Folk Festival and Regatta. If you've got a head for heights, why not climb 83 feet to the top of the old West Pier Lighthouse for a view over the town? 8 miles further down the coast we come to Robin Hood's Bay, although no link has yet been found to the famous outlaw. Baytown, as it's known locally, nestles in a steep ravine leading down to the sea. Like Staithes, it's traffic-free, so you have to walk if you want to go down to the bottom to the dock. Here, the fishing boats used to be hauled up to the landing to make sure they were above the high water mark. Sadly, there's no commercial fishing taking place here anymore. At low water, reefs extending far out into the sea are revealed. And here you can dig about in the rock pools or search in the cliffs for fossils. You can walk right along the beach to the far headland at Ravenscar. This was the site of a proposed holiday estate in Victorian times. The idea was it would be served by the railway that ran from Scarborough to Whitby, but only the hotel was ever built. Robin Hood's Bay is popular all year round. If you come at a weekend in early December, locals dress up in Edwardian attire. There's entertainment such as Morris dancing, plays held at the local museum, and a duck race along the stream to the village. The cliffs between Robin Hood's Bay and Scarborough make much of the coast inaccessible. Just below Scarborough is Filey Bay, a 4-mile arc of golden sand bounded on the northern side by the Brig, a hard spit of land that runs out into the sea. You can walk along it when the tide's out, but be careful, when the tide turns it comes in very quickly. At the other end of the bay are the 400-foot high cliffs of Flamborough Head. These lie in East Yorkshire. There was little here until the arrival of the railway in 1846. Then Filey was laid out on a grid on the cliff top, and the crescent with its pretty gardens in front still evokes the Victorian era. Despite its gentility, Filey still went about its business, launching open fishing cobbles into the sea as it still does today, but today it's done by tractor. You'll have to be up early to see them launch, but they do normally return mid-morning, hopefully with fish, crabs and lobsters caught out in the bay. They are landed at the aptly named Cobble Landing. Filey has changed little over the years, with generations of families returning for those traditional seaside activities like donkey rides, building sandcastles, or just sitting enjoying the sun.